Hello, here we are once again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring, as everyone knows, through these videos, his disillusionist philosophy. And today we are going to tackle a very philosophical issue, at least to some authors. It's the ultimate philosophical matter, the ultimate philosophical endeavor. Ludwig Wittgenstein famously said in the 20th century that solving whatever misunderstanding, that was the purpose of philosophy. And honoring that tradition, maybe today we are going to address what, from a disillusionist point of view, is the mother of all misunderstanding, the misunderstanding in which we incur, the illusion under which we are when we believe that we know what other people are feeling. So we are going to tackle this very, very central misunderstanding, of course, from a disillusionist point of view.
Well, the mother of all misunderstanding is the supposition, the assumption that we know what somebody else is feeling, that we have access to somebody else's feelings or what it feels. Basically, the main issue, like always, is suffering. Yes, we know what it feels to suffer a certain suffering. This is the issue in general. So when I talk now with Florencio, I think I know what he's thinking. Maybe do, maybe I don't. I know what he's feeling. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Maybe now Florencio has a problem with one of his little toes. He got his little toe, with a wall, and he's not feeling. And so, but we are not going to take that little example of the toe, but we are going to take we are going to see why are we incurring into that mistake again and again and again, with the same person and with different persons. And the first thing, Florencio, that we have to talk is about physical similarities. Physical similarities not allow us, it entices us to think that we know what it feels to get a kick in the shin, in one of your shins. Have you seen that? You've seen that sometimes in sports. I mean, it feels. Why? Because when it happens, you put your hand on your shin. I mean, you feel the same pain. That empathy is animal empathy. That it works. The idea is that you will know once you see a certain signal of pain in another animal, then you know there is a danger, or that's something you should not do, or it's a place you should not sit.
And it will trigger a response.
It will trigger immediate response. That kind of I know what the other one feels is the closest we can get. That's the close. And even then, there are different situations. You could be getting a kick on the shin when you are in the middle of a big crisis that you cannot pay this month's mortgage payment, for example. And then, of course, the pain will be less because your suffering, the other suffering will take over much faster. It's not the pain, is really the suffering. The pain may be the same, but you just suffer less. Or if I am having a great time at the beach, somebody kicks by mistake in one of my shins, or a child thinks I'm a football, and then the pain is terrible because it happens inside of my vacation and so forth. So look, the suffering is different even in the physical part. But we go over it. It goes more than that, because it goes only physical similarities that would end there. But then there is communication, language. You will telling me, listen, my son is very sick, and I am very worried, and I will two things. First, I will say he just communicated with me, so I know that this is true, and I know the degree of that suffering. And I know more because I have children, or even more if I have the children who were sick, or even more if my children was very sick, and especially more if that happened not long ago. So that the chances of me of knowing, of accessing to that are very small. Still, there are still more other things that are confusing us. Those are confusing factors. Yes. Then what's the next one is shared memories. We were together, we saw an accident together, and that memory tomorrow you will say, listen, I am impressed with what happened that day, the accident, and I will say, I'm impressed myself. The degree of impression, nobody knows. Nobody knows if I'm saying the truth or I am saying it because you say it, or you say it because I expect to be saying it, talking about communications. But even shared memories, the shared memories themselves, depends on the point of view. Where were you at that time? How much your memory recollects? And this is shared memories of the same event.
Yeah.
You could go to shared memories, Florencio, of different events. If you go to the Eiffel Tower and I go to the Eiffel Tower, we will remember that it's made out of iron and it's rusting or whatever, and there is a lot of people or not. But that's where our shared memory is. What do you say, Florencio? I have left you with several issues to deal with.
Yes, but listening to you, I kept going back to these phrases that we say, I would say on a daily basis, phrases like, I know what you're going through. I understand what you're going through. And of course, this becomes more and more prevalent if we are expected to express understanding of what the other one is going through. The suffering involved in the sickness of a child is a good example of this. You tell me about that, I will be prompted to tell you, I know what you're going through. If you tell me about your excitement about the trip to Paris, maybe I don't feel the same pressure, but still, I'd say most naturally, I will tend to go in this direction, to assume that I know what you're going through, to assume that somehow I can relate, that I have access to your inner feelings, which of course, for what you said already, but I think there's more to say about this matter. Just circumstances, just the difference in our constitution, our individual makeup makes it impossible for me to really access what you are going through. But still, the interesting thing I feel is that we go in this direction almost naturally, right?
Yes, we go into this direction sleepwalking. We just sleepwalk into it. Again, the person who is telling you who is suffering, and it is suffering, that person is awake. That person is suffering. He is not sleepwalking. If I am talking with that person, and that person tells me he's suffering, there will be automatic, pre-written, arranged answers. Yes. So if I come to a burial, and I will say, I'm sorry for your loss, or some other, depending on your religion, there are certain, there are religious formulas that help for that. And it's all there. You are sleepwalking into it, unless there is somebody you really care, and the person died, and now it is, you are feeling something. If you go to enough burials, you won't remember one from the other. And that shows you were sleepwalking. While if it is your member of your family who passed away, you will remember, and because you are awake. So that is the. On the other hand, also don't forget the other person, the person who is being misunderstood, because that's the risk, misunderstanding somebody. That person who feels misunderstood, he's suffering, because when you feel misunderstood, you cannot sleep well. So everything conspires that this will work, but still, we know that we don't have access to it. We should know. In fact, sometimes, Florencio, it takes a second time. There are several examples, but I'll give you. I'll tell a joke. That's the best way to show, to make a point. A man comes to his friend, and says, "I have a problem. My mother-in-law is very bad playing poker. She's not good at playing poker." So what's the problem? That she plays, that she does play. So this is a joke. I tell it again because Florencio always laughs when I tell this joke, even when I said it to a third party. So it was safe, he was going to laugh. And some of the people will laugh, some of the people will smile, some of the people are not going to laugh. And I will say, they didn't get it. They did not understand. No. That's, you see, you will ascribe misunderstanding to something that probably has nothing to do with misunderstanding.
To the rational part, to the semantic aspects, and not to the feelings.
Not
because
to the possibility. I didn't tell the joke nicely. It's not an English language joke, so my translation doesn't work. I mean, you want the list. Or the person does not laugh at this kind of jokes. I have a daughter who does not laugh at jokes that are cruel in her view. Almost anything, it's cruel. So she doesn't laugh. And what happens? I don't tell her those jokes. I just don't. Okay. So, but do I know what happens to her? No, I don't. I really don't, because to me, there is no such a thing, or very few examples of a cruel joke that I wouldn't laugh.
But still, even as we are discussing how unlikely, how almost impossible it is to really get what others feel, you mentioned the fact that someone could understand this joke and don't laugh and don't feel the joyous emotion that I feel. And I'm somehow surprised. I'm somehow disappointed at the fact that our feelings do not coincide. My natural tendency is to assume that it's a funny joke, you should feel the laughter. Why wouldn't you? It's that kind of shock, right?
The problem is that there are misunderstandings that are objective. I speak to somebody in Spanish and the person does not understand Spanish. There is a misunderstanding, there is a no understanding. Now, this is the difference. We both know the other one. Have you realized that when people speak in a language the other one does not understand, they raise their voice, thinking that now they will understand because they raise their voice? I've seen people trying in Romania, trying to speak to me, and then they start raising the voice because they didn't understand what they were saying. This is
maybe you couldn't hear.
Maybe. So the question of misunderstanding has to do also with circumstances. We spoke about it with the kick in the shin. But in everything, we are all coming from different places. And when something happens, when I am evaluating a person, even somebody who is very close, because again, if it is my daughter, I just talked about my daughter, or my sister, or my brother, or my wife, each one of them, I have better chance to know what they are going through. But if at some point I misunderstand, that could be a casus belli. That could end up very bad, very bad. And we know that couples have that problem. Many of the couples' problems is misunderstanding. Now, misunderstanding also could be a degree. If somebody says, I am ashamed to go out with red shoes. Why would you be ashamed? And it will take me some time to understand, well, that person is ashamed. I, for example, am a person with very little shame. Not non-shame, but very little. So to me, people with shame, I have a harder time to understand. Now, but automatically, the first reaction is, what do you mean? How can you feel ashamed of that? I understand you don't want to go out, but you feel ashamed. So in feelings, it's even worse because it's degrees that you have not access. Not only you don't have access to the sentiment, you don't have access to the degree.
Now, speaking about degrees, I think we can easily agree on a full range of possibilities. From those, like these examples in which you are so close to someone, you're so similar to someone, you know them so well, that you have better chances at guessing, even if in the end you will never know. And from there, you can take it up at various degrees of separation, right? It's harder when people come from a different culture, from a different background. And in the end, it's not us, but I've seen many people reporting that they know what a dog is feeling, what a cat is feeling, that they have access to the emotions of a mammal, not a human at all, not a human from a different culture, just a whole different animal. I guess no one goes as far as saying they have access to the feelings or emotions of a bat or a spider, but with cats and dogs and birds, I've seen it. It's anxious, it's sorry, it's bored, it's angry. So I think we can draw a scale, even if we can speak in terms of black and white. We don't know what others are going through. We can still describe different shades of gray there, right?
In your egos, of course, the people who are in your egosphere, your family, your children, whatever, then the more you are getting far, the harder it will be to apply. But what we apply is something called analogy. This is a good thing. Analogy is not a bad thing. The problem is that with analogy, if you go too far, your chances are already like winning the lottery. So it is clear that when I see, moreover, I think we ourselves, as you say, will not think what it feels to be a crab, or you will not care. Or sometimes if you feel that the crab is trying to catch something and it can't, you may, poor crab, yes?
It's frustrated.
But with dogs, if my cousin gets bored, my dog gets bored, could get bored. If my cousin cries when somebody leaves him alone, or he's depressed because he's alone, the dog happens the same thing to it. So we keep on doing this. And of course, with the dog, a misunderstanding is not a problem. Yes, there will be no problem. But misunderstanding other people will get you into what you do. It's, to have an opinion on somebody. You do it immediately, and from then on, because you want to sleepwalk, you decide that person is you can trust it or cannot trust him. He's honest, he's dishonest. You do that, and then of course, probably you're being mistaken because things are a question of degrees.
Still, the question remains, right? Why do we do it? Why do we go sleepwalking into this direction? Why do we assume that we do have access to what other people are feeling?
Well, it's two words. It works. We are part of a synchronized society, and the synchronized society is based on our sleepwalking. The more you doubt, the more you have to think, the less you sleepwalk. The less you sleepwalk, the worse is for the sync. The less you sleepwalk, the more you suffer. So there is you remember that there is a tacit pact. I don't wake you up from your sleepwalk. You don't wake me up from the sleepwalk. There is also here a tacit. I don't shame you because you did not understand. You don't shame me. We let it pass, and that's it. Why? Because we all want to sleepwalk. It is always the force of gravity of sleepwalking, because there is no pain, or sorry, no suffering involved. Then we always tend to sleepwalk. So this works. It just works. Truth is not an absolute value. Truth is good if it works for not to suffer. If truth is bad, it makes you suffer and you can live without it, truth is not good. So this is the issue. We don't have to know the truth. It just has to work, and it works.
The truth, and I agree, it's a truth that I don't really know what's on everybody else's minds as I walk around the street, and that maybe some of them are feeling hostile towards me, and that maybe some of them are. That truth is no good for me. It won't allow me to get to the metro, to get to the subway.
You will not be able to sleepwalk. Exactly. I want to make a point about something that is semantic, but is very important. I don't know what do you feel? That's one possibility. But then I don't know what it feels to be Florencio. That's a holistic view, yes? And the answer is, of course, I don't know. Even though I know that you feel about the same of being yourself. There is a feeling of selfity. There is a value of selfity. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, I want to know what you feel now. And that's the issue. Because what it feels to be Mookie is 24/7. This depends, where do you find yourself? Where do you meet with yourself? And there is nothing you can do about it. Once again.
And I think no one would ever claim to be able to know what's it like to be you. But everyone would claim that they know what you are going through at this exact moment, right? There's a difference
At the junction,
there.
yes.
Both are wrong, both are false. But the second one is so prevalent that it has to be addressed.
And it has to be addressed. And again, what can you do about it? Well, then you have to make your, but we know what to do it. Sometimes we know we have a misunderstanding with somebody. It becomes evident, and it's worth to solve it. Yes, as I say, in couples therapy, it's very common. So I am sure people already have experienced in their lives. So
this is not about giving advice. It's about just knowing what we don't know.
Describing, right? That's it.
Yeah. Amazing. We'll carry on next time, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.